Welcome to Impactology Live. Over the last 3 days, we've highlighted a number of not-for-profits that are doing an amazing job in the community. And this morning, it is our great pleasure to have the CEO of Merri Outreach Support Service, Mark Goodie. And they're known as MOS in the local community. And MOS is a Victorian not-for-profit agency providing important programs for vulnerable members in the community who are at risk or are homeless. And the work that they do is absolutely fabulous, and it's fantastic to have Mark join us today. And Mark's going to share with us some of the amazing work that MOS undertakes in the community, but also some of the current challenges as well, and what we can do as a community to support them and to support to end homelessness as well. So, Mark, welcome.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Rita. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a good opportunity. I think always it's a good opportunity to highlight the plight and needs of the homeless. So, I think that our organisation has been in operation now for 31 years, and during that time, really, we haven't been able to solve homelessness. And that's a real issue. I think that it's not an easy thing to fix, but it's certainly something that we want to, and we're dedicated to addressing every day, really.
And Mark, if you can share with us, obviously there's a rich history in the community with MOS. Can you share with us some of the programs that you and the team deliver into the community,
and
the kind of impact that you assist individuals with?
So our organisation, so it started as a faith-based organisation in the Darebin area, as many not-for-profits did, and so it's evolved over those 31 years. We aren't. I wouldn't consider us to be a huge organisation. We're medium size. We're 75 staff, give or take, depending on the week or month. But that 75 is highly dedicated to what they do. I suppose we're really known in the sector as far with other organisations and with government for the good work we do in providing quality services to consumers. We have, for the 75 staff, we have so many programs. I can rattle off all the main ones at a glance. So we have our Bright Futures program, so that's a case management program, and they also do group work for children across the northwest of Melbourne. So they're children that are impacted by homelessness and the trauma of homelessness. We have our Community Connections program that works in the community, and they basically go out to rooming houses, etc., where people are in temporary housing accommodation, so it's not secure. So we do case management there. We've got a regional children's resource program. They work across the northwest of Melbourne, helping other homeless organisations work with children, and so they're networkers across the region. They're a great resource for us and other organisations. We then have, as you can see from this tower behind me, this is a high-rise tower in Brunswick. So, and this is for over 55s, and we provide support to a couple of high-rise towers, one in Brunswick and also one in Northcote. So we run also social support groups in those towers. So we provide food, groups to combat social isolation of people who are living there. And most of those apartments are for single people, and there are some couples. But down the bottom, we have big social support rooms. We do things like IT programs. We have games nights. We have great staff who will come in and do a whole thing where they'll dress up the whole room like everyone's going on an aeroplane trip, and everyone dresses up and goes around the world. And I've gone to a couple of those, and as kind of corny as they sound, they're fantastic. But it's also about how it brings that community together, and everyone's really involved in it. We also run food bank out of Brunswick Street, which is important for that community and the wider community, so people can come if they can't afford certain staples, etc. They can obtain that from us. We also then do a lot of case management with older people through those programs, right through to Heidelberg as well, which is fantastic. It also helps people who are out in housing in the community, if they're isolated as well, we can case manage, we can help, we can provide resources so people can get to doctor's appointments, etc. So we're doing a lot of work in that space. We also have our youth refuge, of course, in Reservoir, which is Catchment Youth Refuge. So that's where young people who have been impacted by homelessness and find themselves without a home can find a safe and secure refuge in which we try and provide housing into the future. We have lots of transitional housing teams for families in the community. So from Northcote, across the northeast of Melbourne and all through the swathe into the north, we have teams of people going out providing case management, helping people find housing and keep that housing. We also have a new program which was recently picked up in the last year, a Darebin Assertive Community Outreach Program. We call it the DACO program. And so people who are rough sleeping on the streets through that Darebin area, we actually go out to them and link in with them and try and provide them a home. And we've also got our intensive case management program, which through that Darebin area, which is aimed at Indigenous people who are finding it difficult to secure a home or keep their home. So that is a snapshot of most of our programs, but that's delivered by only 75 staff, and they do a fantastic job in doing that. And I've compressed it all together, but I think it just shows how much dedication there is with what they're doing in the community, with how many programs we're delivering. It's a wide breadth.
And the staff are so passionate, Mark, absolutely. And having firsthand seen the work that they do as well, it's definitely a standout for me in regards to their passion and what they bring to their work. Just on that as well, what makes Moss so unique? Why are you so well respected in the community? And particularly during COVID, what did you see with the team that really sort of motivated and inspired you in terms of their effort?
It was, and you would have heard this from many people you've been speaking to, but COVID, it's unprecedented in what it's done to services, communities, etc. I think the real thing for our staff was we were lucky enough to have good IT structures, and so we were able to move people to home really quickly. But that didn't stop our service to people in the community. So we might have lost the main bases, office spaces, but we were still going out into the community and providing services on a daily basis. We're an essential service. I think the one thing about our staff is how they rallied. So when you talk about change in any organisation at any time, that change, how it's implemented, normally structured, takes time. This was so quick. That was the real test for many services. It was so quick, we pivoted overnight, basically, and said, right, everyone go home, take your PCs, take everything. We're going to be working from online. And so there was this period of adjustment for everyone. What's going on? But the staff, and we would have thought, we would have seen an absolute decline in how services were provided. But to the contrary, what we found was there was more connectedness with clients or consumers and our workers were doing a lot more work. So we saw that how people were being helped, they were actually helped up to a higher degree because we were contacting them more constantly and making sure that they were okay. So all those consumers got a higher level of service. So for me, it was about our staff actually stepped up, embraced that change as quickly as they possibly could, and then turned their services around, turned it into alternative services and delivered that to the community. It was a fantastic effort, and I don't know how that happened, but I just knew as a group, that mind meld that we all had as an organisation worked so well, and I hope to see that continue. But it does go to show the dedication of those staff.
Mark, the problem of homelessness, I guess when I think about it, it's kind of the end point of someone's journey. There are lots of factors that would result in them ending up, unfortunately, homeless, without a home on the street. In your mind and through the experience, I guess, of Moss and your participation in that industry, if you like, what do you see as the leading factors and causes of someone ending up homeless?
It's that is the big question, isn't it? Now, I suppose we've got to consider that, roughly one in every 200 people in Melbourne are homeless. And so when you start to do the stats, that's a huge amount of people. And we're yet to see the fallout of COVID completely, and its effect on our communities in Australia. And so I would be guessing that would be increasing as the impacts and the fallout from COVID come about. With homelessness, it's easy to say that, there's many things that we can attribute to homelessness, and we can say poverty, unemployment, mainly a shortage of affordable housing. It can be triggered by family breakdown, mental illness, sexual assault, addiction, financial difficulty, gambling, social isolation. But the biggest thing that really causes homelessness is domestic violence. And we're doing a lot to tackle domestic violence as a community now, and family violence. It's one of the, if you put family violence on a board, you could attribute many factors to homelessness swing from it. The other big thing is housing. Now, I think that in housing in itself, the state government of Victoria has stepped up and committed $5.3 billion towards social housing over the next 10 years. This has been an amazing turnaround, and this is going to help the homeless community. It's the biggest commitment by any government ever towards social housing. Within that, there's going to be, through Victoria, just over 12,000 new houses delivered in various states. And so this is going to really tackle the cause of homelessness. I've only ever seen or heard of, in recent years, one country that has reduced homelessness, and that's Finland. And I remember being at a conference and listening to what was occurring in Finland, and they were saying it is, they did something absolutely amazing to tackle it, and we were all waiting, what was it? And they simply said, we built more houses. And really, that's what our government and all these other services who tackle homelessness, we're about to go into that stage, hopefully, and continue to build houses over the next 10 years. It will never stop homelessness, but at least it will go some way into reducing how the high number of people who are homeless in our state and in our country. And that's a good step forward anyway, and it's at least a good model for Victoria to do to other states.
I think that foundation, we absolutely all take it for granted, many of us, the fact that we've got a safe place to be. The 1 in 200 statistic is astonishing when you think about, the environment, particularly for those of us here in Melbourne, a very cosmopolitan, equipped city with a lot of resources. It is astonishing to think that it's 1 in 200. The other, factor that you called out there around domestic violence, I know through some work that I do with Peninsula Health and down on the Mornington Peninsula, the rising number of women, particularly, over the age of 50, that either due to domestic violence or their partners becoming ill, perhaps the death of a loved one, their financial security, if you like, or resources, sometimes are taken away from them very, very quickly. So you have a lot in that community in particular that are rough sleeping in cars, sleeping on the beach, anywhere they can. So I think the commitment of the government that you've called out there is amazing. Congratulations to the government. I think if we can take more, resources or initiatives rather from places like Finland and other places in the world, and those Scandinavian countries do so many things better than a lot of countries. I think there's a lot that we can learn, and I'm really glad to hear that we're moving in the right direction with that. In terms of MOS and the vision, the organisation, I've only had a little bit of exposure to it, but it is an amazing organisation. What's your vision and aspirations, hopes for the future in terms of what MOS is there and will continue to do in the community?
Look, MOS, I think MOS's strength has been purely its dedication. We're not an organisation that wastes money on frivolous things. Every dollar that virtually comes into the door of MOS goes into service delivery. Our vision, is a simple one, and really we want to end homelessness. Our vision statement is striving to end homelessness, sustaining housing, and strengthening communities. really what we want to do is make sure that homelessness is eradicated. And that's a big statement. But I think for us, everything that we do, every consumer that we assist, we like to say that we will love them that much, we won't see them again. And if that occurs, then we've done our job well. The vision for us is to grow and provide more services. And I think within growing, it's to look at how else we can help people. So if someone presents as homeless, it's not just the fact they don't have a home. That is the key thing. Once given to them, there's normally other things that we have to address. And it's also, it must be said that homelessness itself causes all these other attributes to occur in someone's life. And so for us, it's about identifying that and moving forward and being able to provide complementary services wherever possible to help people move through that period in their lives so they can have that safe place. So for us, it is simply growing and ending homelessness and providing more services to people to do that.
Mark, what's the best way that the community can support you and Moss to continue to do the amazing work that you do?
For us, we're a not-for-profit organisation, and so really we do rely on government funding to provide services. We run very lean, but we also, where possible, we always appreciate donations from the general public to help us do the good work that we do. Again, any donations that come in, we all normally, we have a number of projects on the shelf ready to go. The next project at this tower that you see behind me, we want to do create a men's shed for that community, and that will be, it's under the men's shed funding, but it will be a community shed where people can come in and from their wider community and participate in community activities, combat social isolation again. These are some of the things that we want to achieve, and we can't achieve extra projects without extra funding. So for us, supporting us is donating wherever possible. That really would help our organisation, help the community.
Thank you, Mark, and we'll be sure to put the details of Moss up on our website and certainly in the live stream. So you've got those in the comments and you know, to the community. I know it's been a challenging time for everybody, but anything you can do to support Moss would be amazing. Now, Mark, it's customary for us to finish our interviews with our guests with a couple of questions. And the first one I'll ask you is around your 18-year-old self. So if you were having a video call with 18-year-old Mark, what advice would you provide?
Apart from berating that 18-year-old for spending all their money and not investing in those things like Apple, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, I think the main thing I would say is, you know, believe in yourself. Trust your gut instincts, but most importantly, pursue something that you enjoy and love and have a passion for. I think in my younger years, I've worked in finance. I worked in the building trade for a bit, but when I've moved into welfare, and I've been working in welfare for over 20 years, 23 years or so, that's been my real passion, helping people. And I think you do have a lot of people whose natural inclination is about helping others, and that's where I found mine. And so if I could speak to my younger self, I would say, find that passion, follow that passion, and don't give up on it. Keep going and pursue it. You'll enjoy what you do every day, and when you find it. So it's a simple bit of advice, but it's so true though.
And certainly has been a theme, Mark, across the 3 days of the Impactology event, so couldn't agree more. Now, the final game is word association that we play with our guests. So what I'll do is I'll call out a word, and then if you could just give me the word that comes straight back into your mind as soon as you hear it. Ready to play?
Let's roll.
Okay. Family.
Look, secure.
Homelessness.
My family makes me feel secure and warm, and so it would be secure.
Okay. Homelessness.
Curable.
Community.
Connectiveness. I think the other word I know I can't do too, but I'd have to put belonging.
That's okay.
I mean, community is about belonging and being connected.
We'll let you, that's fine. Inspiration.
Ordinary, you know. I think to me, inspiration, the ordinary people in life who do amazing things. So that's always my inspiration. There's so many people around us who, if they, again, just going back to my 18-year-old self, if you believe in yourself, you can change everything. And I think thinking I'm just ordinary, but everyone has something within them that can change a lot in the world. Believe in yourself, and that ordinary being can become something extraordinary.
All right, impact, not in 250 words, just in one.
Influence. I think influence.
Okay.
Lead by example.
And 2021.
2021, the future, I think I'm pretty optimistic about it. I think many things for us, it's about how we can go out and work with what we know about how we've been impacted by COVID, but still go out and deliver services to those most in need. I'm optimistic. I work in the space of hope and assisting people, and so does our organisation. So I am that person who's jolly and optimistic about tackling any problem in the community sensibly.
That is awesome, Mark. Thank you. And where can people find some more information about Moss? Give us your website.
Look, we've got a website, so merri.org.au. Search Merri Outreach Support Services online. You'll find our website. We're about to launch a new website in December, which will be a bit more user-friendly. Our first inclination is a typical not-for-profit website, so when people do search it, it will get better. But it has all the information about Merri and the work that we do in the community.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time today, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
See you later. Cheers.
Thank you.
So in about 5 minutes, we're joined by our next presenter. We will see you very soon.